So, guys, we're now going to go on to the next topic, which is called tips to self mastery. Right? I wish I can be a master of myself. Sometimes you feel like you're at war with yourself, like yourself want to do this and you want to do that and you want to. It's like a battle.
It is.
Yes. So I am excited to talk about this, and I hope
Mhm.
you all will stick with us as we continue on this conversation. So, Donisha, please explain the term self mastery. Self mastery, Miriam. Someone said self what? Self mastery. Okay?
Yes.
Yes. So explain that term, Donisha, please.
Yeah. So self mastery, the way I like to put it is being able to check yourself, right? When you're when you're able to check yourself, right? That is when you are able to master yourself. Checking yourself meaning when you find yourself spiraling into that rabbit hole of doom and misery, or when you find yourself engaging in something that you said you wouldn't engage again, whether it's, a person, a place, or a thing, a habit, right? Being able to check yourself. And I don't mean check yourself in a way where it's like not allowing yourself to have fun, not allowing yourself to be a full human, right? Because we're human, right? We're here, we're processing so many things, especially during a public health pandemic globally, right? So it's so many things that we have to give ourselves grace and compassion for, right? But being able to say, you know what, I said I wasn't going to do this, let me not. Or you know what, this isn't going to give me the outcome that I know I need, right? And I also like to ask myself and tell people to ask themselves, what am I alignment with and what am I making myself available for? So if you're making yourself available for drama, if you're making yourself available for misery, if you're making yourself available for, people and places and things to, pull you down and make you upset, then again, you have to master yourself, check yourself, and say, I am the one making myself available to these things. It doesn't mean that people are not going to present themselves with drama, with riffraff, but it's just saying that when it is presented, am I going to make myself available for it? And just, again, going back to that pause, right? Going back to being mindful, like, you really can't change other people. Like, hopefully you can influence them, but ultimately it's them that has to make the change. You can only change yourself. And we talked about briefly a couple of days ago, boundaries. Like, I am drawing a boundary that I'm not available for this. I am drawing a boundary that I'm going to make sure that I do my best to stay in alignment with certain things so I can yield the best possible outcome for myself or make myself available for this or greater, right? And so a lot of the times it is about just being aware, having that pause, and just saying, you know what? I'm going to choose to do something differently than this, and kind of breaking that cycle.
Yes. And Danisha, just to ask you a question, would you say it's also like would it be like sitting with yourself and also knowing yourself, knowing who you are, and just
Yeah. So I'll give you guys a personal example. So me and my younger brother, he's about almost 2 years younger than me. We used to fight like cats and dogs, like even up until like our mid to late 20s or whatever. We're both in our 30s now. We used to fight like cats and dogs, like always just like bickering and arguing and something simple, just spiraling out of control. And of course, when you're teenagers and whatnot, you and your siblings probably argue over Cheerios and small things, right? And so I remember my niece was the first one to call me out on it. She was like, you're always on edge when you get around Uncle Phil. And I'm like, I am. Like, and so because I'm always ready to like.
you're
argue.
ready.
Yeah. And so, right. And so she checked me on it first, right? And so I'm like, damn, like, why am I always on edge and so ready? Part is because, again, years of arguing, years of just being ready for the riffraff. But then all of it is like, you know what? You can, like, even if he does bring the riffraff to you, if my little brother wants to stay stuck in that sibling rivalry thing, I can choose to opt out of it, right? And so I was able to be aware of how I was just always resonating and I was available to fight with him and
Mm-hmm.
argue with him, even in 20s, even in 30s, like, and just say, you know, I'm not going to be available to argue. Even if he, you know, has a chip on his shoulder or he does something to irritate me, I'm not going to allow myself to argue with him.
Absolutely.
And that changed our dynamic completely.
Oh, wow.
And we still argue and bicker because that's my little brother, right? We, you know, but it's not nearly as bad as it was before because I had to check myself. I'm like, even if he's coming with me with this, I'm ready for war too at all times. Seriously.
Right.
And I had to say, you know what, let's not be ready for war. Like, let's just be unprepared for any of this. Because if I'm unprepared for it, then I can't engage in it, right? I can't fight with him if I'm not ready or allowing myself to do that. And so a lot of it is, you know, being aware of yourself, sitting with yourself, and knowing that I have these issues too. It's not always the other person. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's the both of you and the energy that you both create, right? And so opting out, not being available to certain things, and being in alignment with other things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Donisha. What do you believe are the consequences of not taking the time to master yourself?
Being stuck in cycles, like I just said. Like, if I didn't take the time to, one, receive that information from my niece, who's like a teen, right? Like, she was the one who called me out on it. And so I think also you have to be open to also being called out or called in, right? Not everyone is trying to play you. Not everyone is trying to check you and, you know, do all this egregious stuff to you, right? But just being open to receiving, you know, receiving self-study, a study of self from other people too. But you will be stuck in cycles, and you will wonder, why am I always presented with this information? Why am I always having the same stuff happen to me over and over and over again? It's because you have not mastered yourself. You have not checked in with yourself. You have not, you know, allowed yourself to be available for something different. And it's just that awareness, or even if you are aware, you choose to be stubborn and you choose to stay in it, right? Because you don't want to do anything else. Some people like to stay in that lower vibration people like to talk about because it's easy for them. And some people, you know, are able to kind of come out of that. And some people, that's all they know. And so I think sometimes that back to, you know, again, like, what are the pros and cons of not mastering yourself? One of the cons is, like, again, you stay stuck there. You'll be 30, 40, 50 years old, still doing the same stuff that you were doing. And then people are like, you still doing that? Like, girl, like,
you're getting the same results.
Yeah, the same results over and over again. Like, why do I keep engaging with this man and this kind of woman, right? Why do I keep going to jobs and having the same dynamics with my coworkers, the same dynamics with my managers? Because, again, you can't change other people. You can only change yourself.
You can change yourself. Yeah.
Yep, and how you choose to interact.
Yeah. And when you start seeing, like, for example, if you're changing jobs and you're seeing the same results, the same things repeating themselves, then you really have to look deep and be like, okay, maybe this is not the previous job. Maybe it's me, because I've been in jobs.
That's
now.
the only thing that's consistent. Like, you talk
thing.
about the common denominator. What's in common with all these situations, right? Like, the only thing that's in common is you.
Is you.
Like, and it doesn't mean that you're terrible, or it doesn't mean that, you know, oh, you're the blame, right? You got to go from blame to responsibility. Like, I'm not the one to blame, but I am the one responsible. Exactly. I'm responsible for how I interact with people and places and things. Exactly. I'm the one. And so when you have that empowerment, like, whoa, I'm responsible for this. I can really influence and change this outcome or whatever. And going from that negative connotation of blame into the positive connotation of responsibility and accountability.
Exactly.
That's like a super boost. Like, that's a super boost.
Exactly. Which leads me to my next question. Because I feel like being able to change oneself can be a very difficult thing. And the older you get, the harder it becomes. Like, you've been this way for 20, 30, 40 years. What do you believe hinders a lot of youth from self-mastery, from actually learning themselves and making those changes to become a better person?
I think you just said it when you said, I've been this way for 20, 30 years, or I've always been way, this is just who I am, right? It's the attitude of, like, this is who I am. It's all you're going to get, right? Like, it could, and when people say that, a lot of times it's two things. It's either they're so committed to being that person that they, like, anything beyond that, they can't see or they don't want to see, right? But then you have the other end where people are sometimes not empowered because they sometimes are a little bit hopeless, a little bit helpless, or they kind of been beaten down and they have, you know, low self-esteem because of, you know, the outside world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's typically what I see in people, old and young, right? And old and young is relative, so I don't want to offend anybody or have any people think I'm ageist or anything like that. But like old and young, it's like either that defeated, not really having that sense of empowerment, or the actually I'm gonna stand in this so much that like boom, all you got. And so you don't want to do that because again, you block your own blessings.
Right. Exactly. So can you share some tips that we can use to master ourselves? Like some tips.
Yeah, so I would say first, I would say like kind of like draw on a sheet of paper or whatever, like the situations that you find yourself in that are good
Mm-hmm.
and the situations you find yourself in that are bad, right? Or that you don't want to, right? And start to think about what those things have in common with one another. The good things, you'll realize what those things have in common, right? The characteristics or the situation, the scenario, the people, right? And then the things that are bad or not so good, you'll realize what those things have in common too. And then that's the simple way of saying, I need to check myself on these things and how I engage in that bad or not so good column, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to start to modify what happens, what patterns, what cyclical things that come up.
Mm-hmm.
Then on the positive end of things, it's just saying, okay, I need to kind of engage in more of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I need to engage in more of this. I need to be thankful. I need to express gratitude to these people and places and things. I need to immerse myself more in these qualities, right? Because those are the things, you can even learn from those things too. Like, what about these dynamics? What about this friendship
Mm-hmm.
that is so abundant, right? What about this relationship I have? Or what about this time in this area that is so abundant that feeds me? And then what about these things that's not so good that takes away from me, right? And so just doing that simple analysis, it doesn't have to be anything complicated. You can literally get a sheet of paper and just start to write it down. Like you don't have to go buy a journal. You can get a scrap or get a piece of junk mail or whatever it is and just get to writing down all of those things and what they have in common. And then you can start to go forward from there and say, either I'm going to limit the things that are making me lose energy or suck the life out of me,
Mm-hmm.
or it allow me to engage in different dramatic scenarios, right? Or I'm going to try to engage more of these things, try to recreate these environments that give me positivity, that hold me accountable, that make me a better person, that gives me insight to my friends and family and myself. And so just a simple pros and cons, good and bad, or however you want to call it, but making a list and going deeper into that.
And it's not gonna happen overnight, right? Like it's okay. It's not gonna happen. You're gonna have times where you're gonna like not do what you want to do, and it's gonna go back. Like, what do you have to say about that?
The same example with my brother, and I and people who know me know, like, my little brother, like, we are so much alike. I love him, like, he's one of my favorite people, but we argue a lot. And so even now as adults or whatever, like, and even after I had that awareness of like, oh, like I was on edge, I still found myself on edge, and I still found
Mm-hmm.
myself in like, either I'm going to interact with him and engage with him, and we're going to let this escalate in our 30-something-year-old self, right? Or I can like figure out how to like ignore it or address it differently, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you're always going to be confronted with some of the same things, right? Because those things exist. Unless you completely remove them, like moving out or leaving the job, right? Unless you literally physically remove yourself from these things, a lot of things you can't really remove yourself from, right? Like your parents, maybe your family, some of your friends, some things, because not everyone is bad and toxic and you need to
Mm-hmm.
rid of them out your life. I don't really believe in those kind of
Mm-hmm.
dramatic things unless it's really harmful. But they're going to keep coming up. And then, like I said, that's the mastery. Like, whoa, I decided to do something differently. Like, today is a day I did not like go toe to toe with my brother. Like, that's victory, or, maybe it took 30 minutes before we started to argue instead of like the 15 minutes on site kind of thing, right? You can start to see your progress in how you interact with those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can really see the change and be like, you know what? I'm not where I want to be, but
Mm-hmm.
I've made a lot of progress, and you got to celebrate that growth.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like, yeah. Thank you so much. So, leading to, I believe that with self mastery, mastering yourself,
Mm-hmm.
it comes with self discipline.
Mm.
Yes. And personally, self discipline is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And
Same.
I'm still struggling with it till today. Like, I know what's right for me, but I might not feel like doing what's right for me, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I just feel like, um, for us to be able to master ourselves, we need to be disciplined in one way or the other. Can you please share some tips on how we can master self discipline?
It's very hard, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna say that it's like, oh, if you do these things, you're being like, no, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's ongoing, right? The biggest thing for me is again writing out all the things that I want to do, want to be, want to have, want to interact with, right? Writing those things out in a way that I can see it every day. So I personally have a dry erase board in my kitchen. When I'm sitting down and I'm drinking my coffee or my tea, like I'm looking at that every day, all day.
Mm-hmm.
And so having that visual reminder of these are the things that you said that you were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So do it, right? And then, anything that isn't in alignment with that, anything that isn't, that's taking away my availability from that, and it's up to me to again check myself on that and adjust accordingly. So a lot of it is just kind of writing those things or having it typed out. I see Miriam say everything seems
Everything
to be
seems to be
written.
written. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's just one of the tools that I use, like being able to write it down and see it, because when you're writing things down, you're processing and you're forcing yourself to slow down and process in a way that is a lot more cognitive, as opposed to like typing and really really fast and whatnot, and you're able to go at a faster speed. Slowing down is really good. So but I would say writing those things out, or even keeping track. So even if you wanted to work out every day or even meditate every day, right? Again, get yourself a little tracker, and get simple as meditation, right? Monday through Friday, you check it off the days that you did do it. Now you have a progress chart. You can say that, well, my goal was for 3 weeks, 3 days a week. I only did one or two. What happened this week, right? What happened that made me not meet my goal, right? So again, that self-observation, that self-study. Maybe you were sick that week, right? Maybe it was your birthday week and you was like, listen, I'm out here, I'm popping. Meditation could wait because it's my birthday. I want to celebrate myself, right? So you can kind of see what deterred you, what distracted you, what came up, right? And say, okay, now I got to come up with a plan for if this comes up again, right? Maybe, somebody called, or maybe, your partner needed more from you this week than others, right? Like, not saying you just got to throw those things away, but coming up with some kind of contingency plan to where, you can get back on the saddle and, go forth and prosper. But a lot of it is writing things down or processing it. If you don't like to write, that's cool. You can type these things out too. But I just find that when you have a pen and paper, like it's you and yourself. Typically with laptops and computers and phones, like I'm on my phone right now, like so clearly, it's a tool, right? But it can be distracting at times because notifications pop up. You go to here, you go to there. So the reason I say write a lot of things, because you really are with yourself and you really are processing information. You can see and go back. Is your handwriting, it's just one of those things that's very, very intimate and timeless. But to generate self-discipline, you have to know what it is that you are doing, why you're doing it. A lot of times, especially with weight loss, that's a big thing that comes up as a health coach. People are like, I want to lose weight. And I'm like, okay, we're like, what happens once you lose the weight? Like, what does losing weight is going to give you? So the same thing when you're trying to be disciplined towards something, like it isn't going to be perfect, but you also have to say, what is it that is so important that I have to be disciplined for? And getting to the root of that importance, the significance of it. Why does it mean so much to you, right? Like you really have to be able to resonate with those things to keep you on track, because motivation comes and goes, right? But when you focus on what this end goal, what is going to yield you, the outcome of it, how it's going to change your life, that can help to discipline. But those coming up with those charts, coming up with those lists, and looking at it every day, coming back to it every day, strategizing and coming up with a different plan to overcome that. That's how you build up the self-discipline. And the reason why I'm vague, I'm sorry if I am vague, because discipline for physical activity or studying and writing, discipline applied, right? You have theory and you have application. So once you start to apply it to certain things, it's different, right? Because what you're trying to be disciplined toward is different. So if I'm not giving a straight answer, I know that. I apologize for that. But once you start to apply to certain stuff, that discipline is going to look different. And so I can't give a specific answer outside of getting a clarity, whether you write it or type it, whether you post it somewhere, print it off where you can see it and focus on it every day and come up with a plan of how can I make it happen.
Yeah. And probably, yeah. I think for me, I do incorporate the writing. Like I have a board in my room where I literally have like papers that I kind of typed out. Maybe I should have written it out. Maybe that would have been better. But I try to look at that those sheets every day just to kind of look at my goals. I mean, I don't always look at it every day. I wish I looked at it every day. But something that helps me also is just thinking about the consequence of how I would feel if I don't achieve my goal. And the feeling of not achieving my goal, oh my God, I don't like it at all.
Yeah, and I would even say, again, going back to why you even have the goal in the first place. Is it yours?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it something that you think you should have, right?
Right.
Like, for example, a lot of people in my world right now are buying houses. And so some people are like, oh, I need to get a house. I need to get a house or whatever. I'm 30-something. I need to get a house. And it's like, do you want a house right now? Do you? Are you okay with your apartment? It's okay to pay rent. You know, like people are like, oh, you paying rent. You giving to somebody else ownership. And it's like, what if renting works for me? And I'm sitting here trying to get this goal of buying a house, and then buying a house don't work for me, right? You know, so a lot of times you have to get clear on why you have the goals in the first place, why you have the pressure, Miriam,
the pressure.
You know, why you even have this goal in the first place or whatever, because that's probably why you don't have discipline. That's probably why you're not motivated. It's because this is not even yours to have. It's not even yours to achieve. This is your mama's and your daddy's goal. How many people that we know became doctors, lawyers, engineers to shut their parents up, and then they're miserable and they're unhappy. Now, being a doctor, lawyer, pharmacist, nurse, all those things, I salute you. We in this together. That's an amazing accomplishment, right? Like, go ahead and do it. But then it's like you achieve this goal, and now what? You don't even really like the outcome of it. You still have that yearning to do something different. And so I think sometimes the discipline, depending on what it is, sometimes we just don't like discipline because we just loose, right? But in other times we don't lack the discipline and or motivation, because those two are different, right? To do things because we are setting goals that are not our own. And that goes back to meditation and getting clear with yourself and sitting with yourself. So when you're not hanging out with your friends who buying houses and getting mortgages and whatnot, when you're not hanging out with your friends who getting their PhDs and masters or whatever, or starting businesses, you know, and you sit with yourself, you tend to realize, like, either I'm good or I want something different, or I don't want that, right? And you have that clarity about yourself because you're not being influenced so much by the outside.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much. That was great. Lastly, Donisha, as a consultant, you help people find clarity. You help them find focus and discipline to live well and to do good. Some might frown against consulting for several reasons. Most probably the expenses. They're like, they're too expensive. I can't afford it. I mean, that's understandable. But why do you believe people need consultants on their journey towards achieving their goals of self-mastery and living their divine purpose?
That's a big question. So I do coaching and consulting and coaching. They can be intertwined, but they can be different, right? I myself personally, I just got a wardrobe consultant or stylist. I have no swag, no fashion, whatever. And I want a little bit. I have my own, right, of course, but I want a certain look, and I know I can't do it on my own, right?
Yeah.
So that's number one reason. So I think that's the biggest reason to hire someone outside of yourself or consult or get a coach, is that you know your limitations. Like, I believe I am unlimited in what I can do, but I also know that, hey, girl, some of these things I need help with, and that's okay. Like, we think about the greatest people, they've had all types of people on their team. Even Beyonce, right, had people on her team. Even, you know, Oprah had people. Even Obama, right, he had people on his team to make it. Both of the Obama, president and first lady, they have people on their teams because they need it. And so, but I also think that, again, going back to getting clear, if you're unclear about what you want or don't want, it is going to seem frivolous to spend money or resources on something because it's like it's a waste. But getting clear on what you need or what you want, and then bringing someone in to help bring that vision to life, it's amazing. I have 2 career and leadership coaches too. I'm a natural born leader. I'm really good at my career. I'm a Capricorn, so if anyone believes in astrology, like you already know, you already know how Capricorns roll all the way, you know. And I'm so much of that. But because I'm so much of that, I'm rigid at times. Tunnel vision at times, and so I need someone that's going to be able to say, let's stretch you, let's figure out how to tap into that in a way that's going to be magnified in a way that I couldn't do it myself because they have that outside lens, right? And so the benefits of hiring someone to help you consult or to coach you through it is because you need help, and it's okay to need help. And these people, especially after you've done your research and you've done the work on your own to get clear on what you want, they can help you bring that vision to life. And that's the number one reason why.
I love that answer. It's like know your strength and know your limitations and bring people that can help you build that, because you're never going to have everything. You're never going to be 100%. I love that, Donisha. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and take some of these questions. All right. Give me a moment. Let me pull them up.
Yeah, no problem.
How do you do, apparently ladies do yoga, do you guys, let's see, talk about, I don't know if you'll be able to talk about this, Donisha. Someone said talk about mental health and meditation, please.
Okay. Mental health and meditation. So I tell people that I am not a licensed mental health professional in any state, city, or nation. So I always, if you feel as if you have deeper, more complex issues that need a professional, then you need to seek that out. In America, because that's where I'm at, and that's the only place I live, that we have federally qualified health centers across the country, across Chicago, that's where I'm at too, that you can get a sliding scale fee. So you can apply for sliding. If you don't have insurance, you can apply for sliding scale fee. So they'll put you on a fee based off your income or lack thereof. So if you need mental health, you need access to services, but you don't have an income, a limited income, or whatever, then find yourself a federally qualified health center to get help. That's the number one thing. But as far as meditation and mental health, the two go hand in hand because, again, meditation can inform you about your current mental health. And it can also help you improve your current mental health, right? So if you're always going and going and going and going and going and without time for pause, without time for self-care, without time to even understand how the world is affecting you, then again, your mental health is probably not going to be the best, or is going to be neglected, right? And so when you take that pause and you take that moment to meditate, you are in fact feeding into your mental health, at the very least getting some kind of baseline as to where you're at and to where you need to go. Maybe you do need someone that's a health coach or that does meditation and yoga like me that can help you get through that. Maybe you do need a licensed professional counselor or social worker or a psychologist, whatever. Maybe you need both. I go to therapy. I see my doctor once a month. I was seeing her every other week. She told me I'm okay to do once a month now. So, hey. You know, and I do that in conjunction with my meditation, with my yoga, with my walks in nature, all those kind of things. So the two are not opposite. They go hand in hand. And just think about it as a big old toolbox and label it mental health. And in your mental health toolbox, there's so many things that you can put inside of it. Even something as simple as, like you said, beating your face, getting your nails done. It can be something as simple as turning my phone off, getting myself a good dinner, forcing myself, or building up the discipline to meditate or to do these other things. So, yes.
So thank you so much, Donisha. That was
Thank
awesome.
you for that question.
Yes, let's take on the next one. Apparently ladies do yoga. This is kind of fun. Is it apparently ladies do yoga? Do you guys do yoga? Do you guys also do yoga?
So that is a great question. Thank you for that. Are we allowed to say who asked the question? Or is it like a private?
Yeah, you can allow to say it.
Okay,
It actually shows there. It shows
okay, perfect. I can see it too, but I know it was okay. So thank you for asking. Yes, guys do yoga, and guys should do yoga. I think, and I say this at the risk of people coming at me, I think guys should do yoga more than women should, right? So women are allowed more often to be flexible man, body, and spirit, right? We're allowed to have a full range of emotions, right? We're allowed to, live dichotomous lives. A lot of men are asked to be very rigid, very masculine, very tough and macho, right? And just to keep everything balled up inside and present themselves. In yoga, both fit. So yoga is more than just the physical postures. Yoga is self-study. Yoga is self-mastery. Yoga is your breathing, your pranayama. Yoga is so much of yoking all those things together to be the greatest version of yourself and how you interact with the world. And so the body is just one way to master the self. The body is just one way to tap into those emotions and those styles. But yes, yoga should be done by men. There is a Instagram page called Black Boys in Om, or Black Boys Om. I'll have to send it to you so you can post it too. Yeah. But there's a whole page that is curated to Black men and boys doing yoga collectively with themselves, right? Because I think that men need special communities at times, the same way women do, when it's something that, they adversely don't have a lot of representation in. And so it is a group that is specifically for Black men and collectively getting that yoga, right? And getting that peace. So yes, they do yoga. You should do it more often, both the physical and both the spiritual aspects of yoga. So all the postures and the stretching, but also the meditation, the deep breathing that we did in our exercise earlier, all of that.
I love that because I've spoken to guys about yoga before, and I've heard them say, no offense guys, they'll be like, oh, that's gay or something like that.
Yeah, no, but, they could say that.
But it's not.
Yeah, and you got to ask yourself too, why is it gay, right?
Why is it?
Right, and then, no, seriously, why is it gay? What, again, let's break it down. Why is it gay? What does gay mean? Why is it a bad, you know what I'm saying? Like really, really ask yourself these things, and then ask yourself, are you really denying? And the other end of it is too, oh, that's some white girl stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it's like yoga originated in India, and there are some origins in Egypt, right? So it's all about people, because all about Black and brown people, but yet these white people came and co-opted it and took it over, right? So, but it's like, why would you deny yourself something that is ours innately? But that's a whole nother bag of bones right there that we can get into another day.
Yes, thank you so much. Let's see. What means there a specific time for meditation? So I believe that you answered this already. That she said, is there a specific time for meditation?
No. If I keep saying the morning, it's because I'm a morning bird. So I don't mean to be like, do it in the morning. No, I apologize for that. That's just the best time for me. But you can meditate throughout the day. There are times where I meditate in my desk before and after meetings. There are times where I'm out in the community doing our field work, doing epidemiology work, and I meditate because I'm like, okay, I need to get grounded before I look at this data set. I need to get grounded before, I start asking these questions. I do it at night just to kind of rid myself of the day and all of the stuff. So you can meditate at any given time of the day, whatever's appropriate, whenever you need it. That's the best way to put it. Whenever you need it, you can do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I see they're over here asking they need a yoga teacher. There are a lot of videos on YouTube, guys, and I think I might actually have a live yoga session at one point. We'll bring somebody on to teach us yoga. Do you teach yoga?
I do.
Awesome. Hopefully, I'll let you know if you wouldn't mind coming back at some point and do like.
No, I would love to.
Awesome, perfect. Okay, so let's see if we can take any more questions, and then we can call it. This is a question. Miriam said, "How do you deal with low self-esteem?"
I say, get clear on what it is that you have low self-esteem about. Because it could just be one or two things that you're insecure about, and it could just be holistically, right? Like generally you have a low self-esteem toward anything that you approach. So just figure out what you have low self-esteem about, and then think about when you started. And I'm thinking, when I look ahead, think about when you started to have low self-esteem, and get to the root of that. And you face it head on, bit by bit. So again, I'll give a personal example. I'm 5'3", so I'm tiny, and I have a naturally thick body. I have heavy chested, thick thighs, butt. And so I used to be, and I'm still processing insecurity about like my thighs. I have thunder thighs, like they're just really thick. Anyone sees them, be like, oh my god, like girl, like if I had that body, you know, whatever. But that insecurity came about being 11, 12 years old, man of my business, summertime, you know, walking around, just, you know, being a kid, and you start to come into your womanly body. Mm-hmm. And then men start to get all creepy and weird and do street calling and whatnot. And then, you know, older people in your family start to make comments about your body and, you know, looking like this and looking like that. And so, you know, you start to want to shrink. Mm-hmm. And so it'd be many, many summers where I'm wearing pants and it's hot as hell outside, but I'm like, I'm wearing these pants because I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be picked and prodded. I don't want to be unsafe, right? And so even again, well into my 30s, I found myself sometimes going back into covering up and not wanting to be seen and wanting to protect myself, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, you have to just say that this isn't mine. I don't actually feel this way. Someone else told me I should feel this way. Mm-hmm. And then slowly and safely, that's the most important thing, slowly and safely start to build that up. And again, depending on what you have low self-esteem about, that process is going to be different. So for me, again, I started to wear dresses again outside, and I started to wear, instead of longer dresses, I started to wear shorter dresses. I started to wear more shorts outside, right? Or different types of shorts, slowly but surely. Not every day, but, you know, some of the days. And then, you know, I'm still processing that right now, right? So it isn't easy. Like you said earlier, it isn't an overnight thing. It is something that you have to figure out, what is it that I have low self-esteem about? Mm-hmm. When and where did it come from / who gave this to me? Because 9 times out of 10, it's not your own. Right. It's not yours. Someone said one thing and you're like, what? I didn't even know. I was going in the world, mad at my business. And here I am. Now I have this weird complex about me. And then you just start to piece by piece build it up. Mm-hmm. Build it up. And reaffirm and reassure yourself that you're safe, mm-hmm. That you are whole, mm-hmm. and that, you know, eventually you will feel better about it. It won't be completely healed sometimes, depending on how deep it is, mm-hmm. but you will feel better about it, and it won't be as heavy, and it won't impact you or limit you as much as it has before in the past.
Thank you so much. So basically thinking about where it all started and knowing that that is not you, that is somebody else's idea, somebody else's thoughts of who you are. And if I think about that book, I saw your comment, the 4 agreements, not taking things personally. I said, like, when you think about that book, it tells you that people say things, people do things because of where they are at that moment in their life. So learning not to take things personally. Mm-hmm. You know? And it's a process, like you said, Donisha. It's a process, and we all have something that we're battling with. It's truly a process, and we just have to keep every day, just keep fighting it. Yes. Thank you so much. That was an awesome answer. So that will be all our questions for the day. I want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. And now Donisha is going to go ahead and choose the winner for this session. So Donisha, if you could choose 2 people that you believe engage the most and you would like to give gifts to.
Yes. So I have my 2 already. The first one is going to be Hamida Abdul, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. And the next one is going to be Forever Miriam.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Amida and Miriam, since you guys have won this, go ahead and send me a DM, and I will go ahead and someone said choose me. And I will go ahead and send you guys your gifts. And I just want you guys, if you're on this live session, please go ahead and thank Donisha for me for agreeing to be here today and sharing her knowledge with us. We want to say thank you so much. We appreciate you. And we hope to have you back at some point pretty soon. Thank you so much, Donisha. We hope you enjoyed this time.
I did. Thank you, everyone, for asking questions and being engaged, interacting with each other. Yes. And thank you for having me to share just my perspective with the world. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're so welcome. And I'm gonna end the show now. Everybody do have a wonderful day. Bye, guys. Thank you. Bye.